Welcome back. And now for part 2.
In Buffy, we got to meet William, who was Spike before he was a vampire, before you got your teeth into me.
Yeah, literally.
Literally. And I love that scene. Ow, ow, ow. And so the parts of myself that I used for the character in Northern Exposure were very much the same as I used for William. So there's a lot of William the Bloody in that character, if anyone wants to go back and watch that episode. I don't remember. Grosse Pointe, and then the zip code for Grosse Pointe, Illinois, 60502, if anyone wants to check it out. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. And then you also were in Medicine Ball.
Yeah.
What did you play there?
A bad boyfriend, a heroin addict bad boyfriend.
Oh.
Villain.
Uh-huh.
I was so pumped up. I was playing a murderer in a play at the Act Theater, directed by the dude who wrote Agnes of God.
Oh.
John Peelmeyer, wrote and directed by him. Voices in the Dark, I think is the name of it. So anyway, I was the villain in that, and I was playing a very smart young man who was pretending to be mentally challenged so that he could get away with homicide. And there was a lot of stunts in this play, and I had to drag people around and carry people around. And so I just pumped up for that role. I was swole, right? And I auditioned for a heroin addict.
Oh.
But I'm really muscular.
Beefy.
And that doesn't make any sense at all. And I'm like, I'm never going to get this. But I didn't shave for like a week so that I had some kind of heroin addict kind of thing going on, you know?
Right.
But I had some stubble for the audition. But then I shaved the stubble because I was also in this play. And so I shaved it before it became a problem with that. And I show up for the thing with no stubble. And the producer's like, you shaved? You auditioned with stubble. We want stubble. I'm like, well, just put that in. And he's like, that's going to be cheesy on camera. I didn't understand that you couldn't just stubble someone. So I think they stubbled me lightly and let me do that. They must not have found anyone that was right for the role, because I was not. And I think the acting was good, but I didn't look like a heroin addict. I looked like I was at the gym all day, which I was.
But they had you do 2 episodes as the character.
Did they?
Yeah.
Okay. It was a while ago. I just remember thinking, this is wow. It just helped me so that when I got down to Los Angeles, I had a little experience doing television. I had enough to start doing guest spots.
Uh-huh.
Did a couple of guest spots in LA. So by the time I met you, I had just enough not to drown.
And you guest starred on Millennium, which I did as well. I had a kind of tour de force character on Millennium. Your character was Eric Swan. What was Eric Swan like?
That was such a great experience, by the way.
I loved it. Lance was incredible.
God, such a wonderful man. Light and dark at the same time. Eric Swan was a war veteran who had gone crazy. He was the villain of the piece, but you very much feel for him. So he's not an evil person, but he's doing harm to other people. This is kind of my favorite kind of role, where someone who's effectively the antagonist, but he's a human being and he's in trouble. Yeah, that's what I remember, yeah.
Really good writing on that show in terms of nuanced characters and giving actors stuff to play.
Yeah, because I don't think in life there are villains and heroes. I think there are human beings. Like for myself, evil is when I hurt someone for no good reason. And I think that the only reason that I can defend myself causing suffering on purpose to someone else is if I'm protecting myself from physical danger. Any other reason, I should probably be expected to find a better way to deal than cause suffering. If I define it that way, I've done evil in my life. I've been the villain on a certain day. I've hurt people out of anger, hurt people out of laziness, out of selfishness. I'm a human being. It happens. I've also been a hero. I have helped somebody when it cost me something to do so. I had to sacrifice something. In my life, it's mostly parenthood that has had me do stuff like that. But I think in life, what I found is, am I a hero or a villain? Well, what time is it? Or what day is it? And I think the best writers understand that too. And they can put people at odds with each other, and we can have the conflict necessary. But we don't have to have white hats and black hats and fool ourselves that one half is perfectly lily white and one half is irredeemable. That's much less interesting than the truth.
And clearly when you're playing a character who is a quote-unquote villain, that character does not think of themselves as a villain. They think of themselves as doing something that is justified. And you have to get inside that when you're playing a character who is described as evil.
I've found that if I can find a way to think of myself as a victim or a hero, I can rationalize a lot of damage. I'm only doing this because I was hurt, or I'm only protecting myself. That's why I'm, hitting these people. Or I'm serving a larger purpose. This is important for the human race, and therefore I have to kill this person. Either one of those two things. And it's a lesson for me in my life. If I feel like I'm heroic, I'm the hero here in life, James, pull up here. Whoa, 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 whoa. If I'm feeling like I'm just a victim and I get to do what I want now, be careful. One of my favorite ones of this is Runaways on Hulu. So it's a Marvel show, and I'm playing this scientist who is in league with a alien whose food is people, right? So there are these people that are getting all of this technology from this alien, and in exchange, they feed him teenagers, one teenager a year. And then their kids find out about that, and they're super, super upset about that. That's the show. I invented a backstory. I play a scientist and an engineer, and I just decide that I've spent my life trying to crack fusion power. This is not in the script. This is just my backstory. Yeah, so I'm trying to save the human race from global warming, because if we crack fusion power, this is true. If we can ever crack that, we're not going to have to light anything on fire for energy anymore. We're not going to have to make the world warmer when we create energy. And I'm in my middle age, and I failed. I haven't cracked it. And then my whole life is for nothing. And then I meet this dude who says he's an alien. And the alien goes, well, fusion power, that's easy. I don't know it personally, but it's on the spaceship. The spaceship is going to pick me up in a few years. I just have to eat in order to meet the spaceships. If you can help me survive, then I'll give you fusion power, but I have to eat a teenager. I would sit down with journalists. I would say, I'm the biggest hero of this show. They were like, what? You're killing teenagers. I'm like, okay, let's talk about that. So I'm telling this backstory, and I said, okay, now, if you had that choice.
Right, I'm sacrificing the one for the many.
Yeah, I'm playing a character who's saying, look, I'll be the villain. You can spit on my grave. You can label me as the bad guy if you want to, but I'm going to make sure that you all survive. I'm not going to let you all die so that I can go to my grave with a lily-white conscience. I'm going to take on that weight, and I'm going to feel guilty. I might get crushed by the guilt of what I'm doing, but I'm going to make sure the human race doesn't die. Isn't that heroic? I never thought of it that way. And then I would say, never mind, I am the villain. I'm killing people. Come on.
So let's talk about you getting cast on Buffy. I was paired with the final choices for Spike, and you came in, and I would love to hear about that experience from your perspective.
Yeah, I was amazed to get that audition. I had told my agent at the time that I was not here to prove myself as an actor. I wasn't down here for awards or golden statues. I was here to make sure that my baby boy had health insurance and diapers. And I wasn't proud, and I told her, look, I'll be the new Urkel. I don't care. And I remember getting the script for Buffy and being like, this is an amazing character. Oh my God.
So did you have a whole script, or did you just have pages?
I just had the sides for our scene. That was all they gave me. But even the sides for that one scene.
Yes.
I mean, I thought that was the whole deal. That one scene was the whole deal. I didn't realize there was more. When I got the role and they sent me the script, I was like, what the?
Whoa.
This is amazing, But at the time, that was enough. And I just remember being really arrogant. I, at that time, was of the opinion that there were actors, they were doing theater, and there were people who wanted to be stars, and they were down here doing film. Came to find out that's not true at all. But I was of the opinion that I was the only person that really knew how to act in the surrounding area. Like, there's probably 100 people down here in Los Angeles that actually know how to act. The rest of them are just winging it. I was in the room before you met me reciting Shakespeare monologues, thinking that that was going to intimidate my competition. So I'm doing Shakespeare to a blank wall.
I actually remember seeing you talking to the wall. I didn't know what you were doing, but I do remember seeing you doing that.
And now I realize people don't care about Shakespeare in Hollywood. That just looks psychotic. I'm sure they thought I had mental problems,
Was that your first reading for Spike, or had you come in prior for the casting?
I had come in prior. I saw Marcia, and then on the day that you met me, they called me in. I did it again for the assistant, and then they cleared me to meet you.
Because they had it narrowed down to who they wanted as their final choices. So I've never heard about your previous audition experience before that day. So it's interesting that you had gone twice, including earlier on that very day.
Yeah, and that's when they asked me if I did any other accents, and I was just like, I do any accent that you cast me for.
You were still Southern when you came in for the audition, and I remember that they said, oh, we really want the character to be English, and on a dime switched and became Spike.
Yeah.
The Spike that we know.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that they wanted that rather than the Southern, which is interesting, but not as much roadway for me to maneuver that character had it been Southern. The English accent was where it wanted to live. But yeah, I had in that John Peelmeyer play that I talked about before, where I played this killer. He's on the phone in the play at the end of the first act, trying to lure the cop out of her home outside so he can kill her. And he's pretending to be this sexy person calling her and flirting with her on the phone. And I just remember, I thought like the sexiest accent was like a Louisiana accent like this. I just thought that could get anybody outside the house. Come on, darling. It's going to be okay.
Right. Honey dripped sounding.
Exactly. Oh, that one would be perfect because Spike is 150 years old. So that would be interesting. And I use that. Can you imagine? No eyeballs to entrails, my sweet. Like that's just not gonna, that doesn't land the same way.
I mean, it was great. It just was a different incarnation.
Yeah. I'm just really glad that they decided to go with their original thought. Yeah. And having me mix it up at the time let me show off.
Do you remember what you were playing with, the elements of Spike in the audition that you were starting with, that inception of the idea, what it was that you were exploring in that particular moment of the audition?
Absolute arrogance. Because in this scene, Spike and Drew are showing up to kill this child. The anointed one is the big bad of the series at that time, and we were just about to kill him, and we do in that scene. And so it's all about dominance and arrogance. And the arrogance that I felt as an actor fed right into that. I remember they asked me in the audition when you were in the room, they're like, "Are you ready?" I'm like, "Born ready." Like I'm already in character because I'm living this arrogance right now. I'm judging all of you in the room as not knowing what you're doing. I'm the only one in this room who knows what he's doing.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Oh, yeah. Except for you, by the way. I could tell that you knew what you were doing for sure. Because when you look in the eyes of another actor and you can't tell what is about to happen, when they're really present and they're really there and it's real, it's not like I was afraid you're going to pull out a knife. It's just the subtle little things between two people change. You're keeping the foundation of the scene the same, but there's just little flicks and little stuff going on that makes it immediate and a little bit scary. And I'm like, what's about to happen? And that's true on stage as well. And I just remember right from the start, I'm like, oh my God, she's amazing. This is going to be great. This is going to be fun. Oh my God. Yeah.
I remember feeling the same way because the moment that we started working together, it really had that fluidity and that thing where we were working off one another. I didn't know where you were going to go. It felt like you didn't know where I was going to go. We were discovering things in the moment. And I know we recently were talking about that the scene as it was written was that you and then the both of us were talking directly to the anointed one. But what happened in your audition was instead of even acknowledging the anointed one, we were looking at each other as we were talking to him, but we were glued on each other and we were looking at each other with this chemistry as if we might kiss, and we came closer and closer and closer, and then our heads touched and we were still looking at one another rather than him. And then we slowly, oh yeah, we're talking to this guy, and we turned out. And I loved that because when you were cast, we, especially second season, would get together because we'd get the scripts a week in advance. And because of our theater backgrounds, we would rehearse. And I remember saying to you, oh, wait, what was that thing that happened in your audition? We need to make sure when we shoot that we put that
Thank
in.
God we said that.
And we did, because we said, oh, this is what we were doing and this is what, and then we filmed it that way. And then it became the promo for the whole new season where they would have our heads coming together slower and slower touching. And then we turned out and the MC said, evil has a few new faces. And I loved that it really came out of that.
It was so organic. And I just remember being locked into you as if we're about to kill this kid. He's the big bad. But he's not interesting to me. It's so arrogant and so dismissive. The person that you are trying to dominate, the person that you're trying to make afraid, and the person that you're about to kill is an afterthought. And I'm just with my girlfriend, and she's amazing, and we're just into each other. And we'll kill you in a sec. And that's not necessarily in a script. It was organically happening. When I have someone to act with that's present and experienced and good, I'm just really playing. It's kind of akin to playing house.
It is.
When you're younger, I'll be the dad, you be the mom, and we'll just like see what happens. And there's a childlike play to it. When you're in that, all sorts of things happen that I'm not even conscious of.
Yes.
And what I call the deeper voices can speak. And all sorts of really cool stuff happens. And that's a great example of all of the different levels of good stuff happening.
And do you have that feeling when that is happening, when things are really clicking between you and your partner, where it's almost as if time is suspended and almost like it's slow motion and breathing fully, and yet even if the things are happening at lightning speed, it's still inside feels like there's this breath to it?
I find if I finish it and I can't really remember what just happened, then I know I was in the moment.
Yes.
I wasn't like recording the moment. I'm just in it. Cut. That was amazing. I'm like, what did I do?
What happened?
I don't know what that was, but I'm glad it worked. That happened a lot when I was acting with you. Yeah.
So had you remembered that our heads were coming together and any of that when I mentioned it in the rehearsal? Had you been aware of that?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
going
yeah.
on? Yeah.
You're the one who remembered to make sure that we put it in there. But I remember during the audition, because that was the last line of the audition. And right after that, David Greenwald goes, I love these two. And that's when I thought, I'm getting health insurance for the baby. Like, that was a turning point in my life. So yeah, I remembered it. But you're the one who made sure that it got in the show.
It's funny because I describe what you're saying is when you're in the moment of acting, you can't have your helicopter self looking at anything. You actually are totally in it. But then after you finish, you can deduce the same way you do in a theater rehearsal where you go, oh, this is really working for me. This isn't. But the stuff that's working, I want to keep. I
Yes.
want to repeat. And I want to discover each night anew the same way when we were doing it as opposed to taking it, night to night to night in the theater, taking it from the audition to our rehearsal to on camera.
Yeah, to take. You
Mm-hmm.
remember that?
Yep.
Like because we were speaking the same language and had very similar backgrounds, we would do a take and then we would huddle and go,
Mhm.
okay, I like that. I didn't like that. Let's keep
Yes.
that, not do that. And it would get better and better and better. And of course, there's only 2 or 3 takes that we can deal with. It's truncated, but we're still building as we're going.
Because we rehearsed, we were discovering stuff right from the first take always, and we'd come in with blocking ideas, which much of the time they would use and worked well. But I remember once going to a party with you, I think it might have been the 100th episode, and we were lamenting because we weren't on the bloopers reel because we actually were in such a zone that we really didn't have bloopers.
It's just every take is printable and there's no like embarrassing things going on. It's just 2 people kind of doing pretty well. Yeah.
So you heard that exclamation from David Greenwald. Then when did you get the call? Because I actually got the call before I even made it to my car in the parking lot. How quickly after your audition did you get the call from your agent?
Not long. It was probably the day after.
And you already felt like, I kind of think I'm going to get this one?
Yeah, like I would be pretty surprised if I don't get this. Like if I was casting, I'd have given it to this guy. That was a good audition. Like that was a really freaking good audition. Yeah.
And were you told about the Sid and Nancy aspect, that punk rock aspect of the characters?
No, not until after I was cast. They go, we want this to be the Sid and Nancy.
Of the vampire set.
Yeah. And I'm like, you want Sid Vicious? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, no, you don't. And they're like, yeah, we do. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to give you Sid Vicious so you know you're wrong. This is actually Sid Vicious.
But James, guess what? I was Sid. In my mind, I was Sid. You were Blondie Bear. You were Nancy. I was
Okay.
Sid.
Then now it makes sense. Now it makes sense because I'm not going to be Sid. Not going to be Sid.
That's funny. And what else at the point when you were cast did they tell you about Spike? Because I had a creative meeting and had heard about all the different colors of Drusilla and some of the first arc and how long we were going to be in season 1 and some of that stuff right from the get-go. Did you have any of that?
The only thing I was told was that you are a soulless vampire who cares about nothing and no one, that you are designed to be killed off. The only reason that you're not going to get killed off after 1 episode is we don't want to kill our villains every episode. It'll be like Scooby-Doo. It gets cheesy. So we like to have longer arcs. But you are a metaphor for the challenges of adolescence, and you are meant to be overcome. You will be killed. Make no mistake. And I remember they said that, and I was like, "You got it. Yes, boss." Right. And they turn away, and I'm like, "No way am I playing it that way. I am not going to play it like I don't care about anybody, because if I play it like that, the audience is not going to connect to me, and they're going to kill me off a lot sooner." They said that it's going to be between 5 and 10 episodes. And I just knew that if I played it their way, it would be 5. And I needed the money. We were poor. And so I found the love. I think that the way to connect with an audience is you find where the love is. It doesn't have to be puppy dog love. Oh, I love you forever. It can be love betrayed. It can be love twisted, love denied, love frustrated. That's fine. But love has to be in there. I mean, there was the love of hunting in Spike, and I played that, but mostly it was a love for you.
How much of the chemistry between us was a drive for Spike?
Oh, huge. That was the whole thing. Like, we are cutting a wide swath through Earth. We're having an incredible time. We are painting ourselves on the stars together, and we have been for 130 years. It was the ultimate romance in a very twisted, dark way.
I never even thought of it as dark, really, because I felt like that component of the relationship between us, there was a purity and a sweetness in it and a real care for the other person. And then the fact that 120 some years had gone by and we still couldn't really keep our hands off each other. I thought, we had a pretty good relationship there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we were killing a lot of people, so there's a darkness.
We were doing that. That's true. There was that.
But it didn't bother us, so it didn't feel dark. I just remember on the page, it often read like Spike was being kind of a jerk to you. In hindsight, I think that that was intentional. I think that the season was Angel, Buffy sleep together. Angel turns evil, kills me, and takes up with you as his new girlfriend so that Buffy can have her heart broken. That's the whole point of the whole exercise. And I think that I was being set up as a cool character who you wouldn't mind getting killed off. They built me up as this big badass and this really cool dude so that when Angel killed me, he would get that cool and that badass by killing me off. But I think that they wanted it not to be a real problem. They like, oh yeah, they killed that guy. He wasn't very good to her anyway. And I remember consciously subverting that every scene that I saw, that Spike's being a dick. He's being a jerk to her. And I would just flip it.
I did the same thing with you. If there was ever a thing in terms of my allegiance with Angel, it was like, well, that's an incestuous relationship that has a pull, but I would always play the opposite of anything that seemed like it wasn't positive toward you or pulling us together as well. Anywhere there was that, it felt antithetical kind of to what really was going on. It was like the subtext was something different than the word.
As an actor, I know where the gold in the mountain is, man. I know where the juice is. And the juice was Drew. That's where the good stuff was. All of the best stuff as an actor to play. It was hunting and having fun, killing people, and love for Drew.
How do you think you found all of the shades that were so brilliant in terms of he's powerful, he's daring, he's audacious, he's sensual, he's sexual, he has a wicked sense of humor, all of those dynamics? It sounds like you started from the point of arrogance, and then how did you breathe all of those additional layers and colors into Spike?
Before this, I had divorced my first wife, and I was in a new relationship, and it was the beginning of the relationship. My first wife was my high school sweetheart, and we had been together for like 17 years by the time it broke up. So I was in this fresh new relationship that was very, very intense in the way the new relationships are that way. And also, in my mind, there seemed to be something sexual about vampiric predation. The predator aspect of a vampire is also sexual. And just leaning into that this whole experience of being a vampire predator is a very sexual experience for this character. He's eating every day. So he's having this sexual experience every day. It's just supercharged all the time. And I guess the rest of it was just having fun with the script, just realizing that the script was so well written and it was just such a great playground to lean into.
What was the key or the essence for you, if you had to distill it to a couple of words for Spike, especially in that initial blush of working on the character?
Having a ball. Just, he's having a blast. He's having the time of his life. He's got the love of his life. They're doing this together. He is one of the best predators in the vampiric world. He's taken out 2 slayers. He's really at the top of the game, and he's just having a blast. That was the thing to get my head around because, again, from Eeyore on, I like to sync it and make it real for myself. And I only had 3 days between the time I was cast and the time we shot. So I had 3 days to sync it. And I remember thinking, how am I going to sync having fun killing innocent people? Like, how am I going to get my head around that? Like, if I can do that, the rest of this is going to flow. But I've got to be able to dump the guilt and this reaction that I have as a human being. Like, I could never have fun doing that. I would be a horrible person if I could allow myself to think about having fun doing that. Can I allow myself to think about having fun doing that? Can I give myself permission to, even in fantasy, go there? And luckily, I was hungry enough that I gave myself permission to discover a side of myself that would have fun killing people. It sounds weird, but that's what the character needed.
And what is one of the qualities that you love about Spike?
Confidence. Just absolute confidence. Confidence to say the thing that no one else dares to say, to do the thing that no one else would dare to do. Absolutely self-assured. I think that playing the character for the time that I did helped me gain confidence. And I think I exited the experience with a lot more confidence than I entered it in. I had confidence, especially with acting, but having it fully in all of life, I think Spike really helped me.
Is that the quality that you wish you had more of in your life, or what is a quality from Spike that you wish you had?
It's a very interesting question, Juliet, because to some extent, a lot of the things that I used for Spike were the darker sides of my own personality. The arrogance, the fury, the cynicism, the loneliness, the sense that I just don't need to hang out with any of these people. Parts of myself that I've really tried to grow out of, or certainly try not to inflict on other people. If you combine those things with the script, and I guess now I'm talking about a lot of the colors that I was using after season 2.
Later, yes.
Once you slept with a mucus demon, it all went south, Drew.
You were far gone on the cheerleader. That is the only reason that happened. I could tell your feelings.
No, I know, but it was so good. It was so good before that point, and then after that happened, it all went to hell. It got dark. And so that part of the journey, season 3, 4, 5, 6, all of that stuff was me really digging into some darker aspects of my own personality. So,
But in season 2, is there a quality from Spike that you're like, oh, I really wish I had that in my own life? More of that.
I do. I now have a healthy dollop of confidence. I really like myself. I don't think I'm better than anybody else, but I enjoy being in this skin. And I really feel like if I decide to do something, I'm just going to leap off the cliff and I'm going to go try to do that thing. I might not be able to do it, but it's going to be fun trying. And oftentimes it actually works.
And if you had to say a quality that Spike has that you're glad you do not have in your real life, what would that be?
The abject selfishness of taking pleasure in robbing people of their life, of their happiness. The side of him that's almost like a cat playing with a mouse for fun, enjoying messing with people. Sadism, I suppose. I'm glad that I don't have that, yeah.
Had you seen episodes of Buffy before you came in or before we were shooting?
I had seen the movie, and I didn't like it. I thought it was cheesy. So when they called me for the audition, even though I said that I don't care about anything, I just need money, I'll be the new Urkel, I actually turned it down. I actually told my agent, not that. I saw the movie. That's really cheesy. That's ugh. And they said, James, it's Tuesday night when we were airing. It's on in half an hour. Why don't you watch it and call us back and tell us what you want? Because it's actually very good. And I watched 15 minutes. And at the commercial break at 15 minutes, I called him back. Holy God, get me on this show. This thing is amazing.
Do you remember which episode you were watching?
No. In hindsight, it would have had to have been reruns from season 1, just because we were in the second episode, season 2. Were we in the second episode? Something like that.
I think season 1 was still airing because I was watching it in real time once I got cast.
I don't remember anything about it except that I just was like, my God, this is incredible. after the phone call, I don't even know if I finished watching the episode. I think I just started studying the line. I was just like, get ready, because it was happening the next day. So I was just like,
Right.
go. And then once I was cast, I had 3 days to play the role. So I wasn't watching anything. I was just focused.
And we met up within that time period.
Yeah. Yeah. There's enough to do now, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't, once I met you, there was no television watching. There's no video games.
We were
We were doing
rehearsing.
Spike and Drew. Yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah.
where did Spike's walk come from?
Malcolm McDowell.
Really?
Yeah. There's a weird movie called Cat People.
Yes.
Paul Schrader directed it.
Yes.
It's a really cool, weird film about
Uh-huh.
people who sometimes are cats. And Malcolm McDowell, who was in Clockwork Orange, who's the lead in that, he's an incredibly good actor, plays this very sexy man who has this predatory feline walk. And it's really very much oppositional. So when your right leg is forward, your left shoulder is in opposition, and you're really kind of almost like a boxer moving through the world. I remember when I saw the film, I was like, that is the best walk I've ever seen on film. I've got to rip that off at some point. And so I absolutely ripped that off. Yeah.
Dev has worked with Malcolm McDowell, so that is awesome. We'll have to tell him.
Thank him, would you? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank him. The fact that I can afford lunch today is in part because of that walk and because of Malcolm.
Did you bring that element in straight away?
Yeah. I was clutching at straws. Like I had 3 days. I had to build a character in 3 days. So I was like, I had read a book by Michael Caine on film acting. It's a wonderful book. Anyone who wants to know about film acting, read that book, because it's all very nuts and bolts advice about film acting. Like if you're running past camera, run slowly toward camera so they can get a look at your face and you can do all your acting. And as soon as you're passing camera, pell-mell as fast as you can away from camera. And that'll read like you're running fast, but you'll get a good amount of screen time on your face. Stuff like that. And he had said in the book that if you see something that you like, rip it off. You'll never get caught. You're going to run it through the filter of you, and it'll change to some extent. It'll be you. I've never been caught. I rip people off all the time.
Well, that's why you didn't know that I was Sid.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I just thought
And
you were
just
awesome.
a little component of Sid. There
Yeah.
was a lot of other ingredients in there, but
And so I ripped off Malcolm McDowell for the walk, and then Rutger Hauer in Blade Runner had
ooh,
this ethereal,
yes.
almost vampiric way about him.
Uh-huh.
He wasn't human. He was an android.
Icy, slightly icy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was one of my favorite films and one of my favorite performances of all time. It's like, put some of that in there. That kind of dreamy, removed,
Yes.
I'm not really part of humanity here. I'm looking at you people
Uh-huh.
from the outside kind of thing. Took that too.
I think that's one of the things about being a theater actor is that you're used to in the rehearsal process of layering things, and so making choices and adding another choice and adding another choice. And when you get the experience of that, you're able to do that quickly, so you're able to do that in time for an audition or in time for a quick shoot. Not that it doesn't take the work, and not that you probably didn't stay up for those 3 days and put as much time into it, but I think those layers are what makes a performance so fascinating, because we as humans or supernatural beings, we're still playing it as human beings and coming from a place of truth. We're always rife with so many contradictions. We have so many things going on and not just one thing at a time. So that becomes very real.
Like, you don't have to make sense. Like, a character doesn't have to make sense.
Well, you're talking to someone who played Drew, so that's very
Right? Yeah, because you're talking about contradictions, and the
Yeah.
thing is that if I was to honestly explain myself as James, it may not make sense. There's contradictions. There's things that don't add up logically about all of these sides of a person. So yeah, when building a character, like David Byrne said, stop making sense. Just go with it. If you have an instinct that that's the color you want to put in there, yeah, man. The fact that it butts up against something else, fine. You know?
Some actors work with an animal for a character. Have you ever done that?
Well, it was a donkey for Eeyore, but no,
If Spike were an animal, even though you didn't draw on that, what animal do you think?
leopard.
Leopard.
Yeah, leopard.
Yeah.
Not a lion, a leopard.
Oh, well, actually, you probably did a little bit of animal because cat people,
Yeah,
because of Malcolm
I
McDowell
ripped off Malcolm
inadvertently.
McDowell doing a cat, and so yeah, I got Malcolm
Some
leopard.
cat is in there.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy playing the villainous aspects, the top of the food chain, the powerful aspects of the character.
Yes, yes, yes. It was so liberating. I was really so focused on trying to be a good person. It's very constricting, or I had found it to be very constricting. I'm still trying very hard to be a good person today, but I allow myself to be imperfect now. Back then, I really was feeling shame whenever I didn't live up to my expectations of myself, morally speaking. It's really not a comfortable place to be. And so just allowing myself to just dump all morality out the window and just have fun was liberating, was incredible.
You brought up something interesting there in terms of shame. I've talked about a lot of things in terms of my childhood, which was not great. And I have come from a lot of shame. And I think there's something in that a lot of actors come from stuff where they feel shame or they've had trauma or they've had not being seen or heard or whatever the words you want to call it. But that feeling of shame made me think about that. And I think it propelled me to some degree into my career choice. Would you say that there's some of that for you?
Oh, yeah. I had a very not good childhood. Sometimes this has happened just maybe 2 times, I'll be honest. But I've watched horror films where they go you have that scene where you see the slasher and you see him as a kid and how they were treated as a kid, and you're like, "Oh, now I understand why they're so messed up." Watching those scenes and I go, "Oh, I remember that." Yeah, like, I had the kind of childhood that often creates monsters, and what I love about artists and other people too, but certainly my experiences with artists is that we have found a way to be useful and beautiful and not monsters, and to take all of that pain and twisting and put it into something that then creates something that is helpful. We are often, I'll just speak personally, I've had therapy now, so like I'm better now, but when we were filming, I had a high sense of professionalism, and so people on the set thought that I really was the kind of guy who had his act together, but I didn't. I was still broken and twisted. I would go home and just cry on the couch all night. I wasn't the same person as everyone thought I was, and I think I kept a lot of the cast at arm's length so that they wouldn't see that. I have this theory that actors specifically, we tend to have had an unsuccessful relationship with our opposite sex parent, but a fairly successful relationship with our same sex parent.
I'm going to blow your theory because I didn't
Really?
have
Okay.
a relationship with either.
Oh, okay. Okay. Never mind then.
But it sounds like you did.
Yeah. Yeah. What it gave me was I patterned after my dad. So my self-image came from my father and I had a loving father. So I had confidence to stand and deliver in front of an audience. But I had an unsuccessful relationship with my mom. So my view of the world and my romantic life was not healthy.
It's interesting because both Dev and myself, we came from a background where neither parent for us. And that makes it really hard to find your footing if you're not loved in terms of someone really having your back and wanting your best interest and wanting you to thrive. If you haven't had that experience, it really makes the ground shaky.
Yeah.
And so I know what you're talking about it also in terms of being brave in terms of your performance and getting there, but also feeling like you're not really allowed to be there or to be successful or to even exist, really. And so it's a lot to grapple with.
But it's kind of amazing that we find a way to do something really good.
Yes.
Like, it's kind of inspirational because when they really people that have these kinds of childhoods, they tend to grow up and become abusive, or they have trouble being useful or being able to contribute in a healthy way to the community, and however twisted I was, I did find a way to do something that people found worth watching, I guess, for however twisted I was in my personal life, yeah.
I love the Israel Horowitz quote, which is creativity is God's gift to the suffering child.
Yes.
I think that's a wonderful
Yes.
quote. Because I think about it, and when you're talking, I listen to your experience and think, well, what if you hadn't had that outlet? What if you hadn't connected to theater? If you hadn't connected to being a performer, to being an actor, to
Right.
getting to express, what would your life have been like
I could have imagined I'd be a monster. Yeah.
rather than
I
playing one on
yeah.
TV?
I'd be in jail, I'd probably be in jail. Because there's just such rage that had been built up. But then you try to deny, push it down, and try to exist in the world without shouting at people all day long. But the rage is still there. And without the outlet of theater, without acting, I can't imagine.
Well, it's one of those things too where that rage that you're talking about, that insane, huge rage, that loss that you're talking about, all of those feelings are actually gold for us. You're on stage or you're in a movie or you're working on a set and literally people spontaneously burst into applause when you are crying and weeping profusely or yelling or doing all these things that obviously in life people are not applauding other than in the therapy room. And so there is this place where that is really useful and it does communicate things about the human condition because for me, when I was growing up, it was movies, it was theater, it was books, it was art that made me feel less alone, that made me say, oh, I understand my experience by seeing this.
Yes. At the end of the day, that's what art is an artist creating an artifact of some kind, whether that's a script or a performance or a painting or a sculpture, a song, reflecting their viewpoint or what they think is important or their aspiration, and then working really hard to make that artifact really sparkly and interesting. And then they put it out into the world thinking, is anyone going to react to this? Are they going to understand? Because the question is, am I alone in thinking this or perceiving this or wanting to aspire to this? And that's why I think when the world reacts like, oh, yes, that's me too. That's me too. It's this profound sense of connection that the artist feels. Because the big lie as a human being is we often tell ourselves we're alone. It's not true. We are connected with each other, but we often lie to ourselves. We get lonely that way. And it's also why it's so brutal when you put an artifact out that you've worked so hard at and no one says, yeah, me too. No one gets it. And you're like, oh my God, it's just me. I'm just alone. Oh God, oh God.
But
Yeah.
you know, when we were kids, we were alone. It's that child's mentality that you carry into adulthood. And then later you go, oh, wait, I don't need to operate out of that anymore. I'm not alone anymore. It was so overwhelming for me. So I adopted these ways of surviving that aren't necessarily serving me well now as an adult. I can make different choices. I can behave differently and I can steer my life differently. And I also don't have to listen to the shame or the part of myself that thinks I am not allowed to be here.
Exactly. It takes work though. I find that all that stuff comes back if I'm not aware of it.
Constantly comes back and then you go, oh, there's that again.
Yeah, it's almost like it's going to be there. I just have to not act on it, and just like, I'm not going to listen to you today. You lying sack of poop. I'm not going to go your way. You want me to climb down that hole. I'm not going to climb down that hole today. I'm going to go a different way.
I like to call it my false self or my authentic self. And when the false self rears its head and you're like, no, okay, not going there. And it's interesting because it can rear its head in all different times when it's stressful and things are going badly or when things are going very well. It can say, hello, hi, I'm here again. And then you go, oh, okay, I got it. And now you don't have to act that way. Did you keep journals at the time?
Nope.
What about scripts? Do you have your scripts with notes in them?
I have some scripts, but the way that I work is not putting notes in, even in theater.
See, I put notes, but then the notes are fluid, but like I build the stuff so I have it, and I have a box with all my scripts of notes. But yeah,
I would put my blocking in the script and then notes from the director in the script. They give notes. That would be written out, but I would just remember the way I work, I just don't take notes. So that all the scripts are pretty clean, yeah.
that's interesting. But you do have your scripts. You have your original, your first copy. Because for me, it's funny. There's something so tactile. Because even now, when I'm doing a voiceover job, I like actually having the paper script rather than scrolling on a screen because there's something about that tactile experience for me that translates into my performance. Do you have that at all or you're good with a screen?
When doing a book on tape, I actually prefer a screen just because I have a hard time keeping the pages quiet, flip the page.
I've gotten good at that.
Yeah, so I'm always worried about that, so it takes me out. And when you're doing a book on tape, it's happening fairly regularly. Every 45 seconds, I'm like, oh God, here we go. I'm like, I don't want to deal with that, so the screen's better for me in that way. But in all other ways, I've never really used a screen for anything but audiobooks.
Do you have any props, any stuff from set? Like I have one set of vampire teeth What do you have?
No, I didn't take anything. The only thing I took was
To be continued. I'm excited to tell you about our Revamped with Juliet Landau podcast sponsored Halloween
online event with me.
and me.
Me and Drew, we're moving in.
Look at all the people. All these nice people. Yes, Drew, it's all the folks we're hanging out with on Halloween. We will be watching 2 classic Buffy episodes, School Hard and Halloween,
There will be interviews with me
and me,
and Todd McIntosh.
as well as an interview with Jerry Baker,
Makeup and hair department heads in honor of dressing up.
and an online cosplay contest judged by myself, Saya Rebecca.
And me.
The link for tickets is julietlandau.dreamhosters.com. You can come for 1 day or get the 2-day combo. I hope to see you there.
Let's get ready to Buffy!
If you want to be considered as a contender for this season's trivia battle, please email revampedpod@gmail.com. Yes, be sure to include your name, where you weigh in with your number of watch-throughs, where you're located, something interesting about you, or something you think would be good to share.
And your social media handles.
Yes, woohoo! Woohoo! Boop boop be Drew. Revamptees, please correspond with me on our Patreon page, Revamped with Juliet Landau, on Twitter, @JulietLandau, on Instagram, @Juliet_Landau, and on the Fans of Juliet Landau Facebook group, or Juliet Landau official Facebook page. Patreon peeps to be read in the credits: Dave Hall, Fawny June Kendall, Daniel Harbour, Louise Brennan, Brandon Key, Cameron Burton, Donnie Ruskin, Madeline Pruitt, Marion Stevenson, Antonio H. Gutierrez, and Bobby Pelham. It makes all the difference because we cannot keep making the show without you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Until we meet again.
See you next time when we do it again. Do it again. Until then, rewatch, revamp, reinvent, and be remarkable you.